Welcome to Spoiler Peace Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Evan Cree, and I'm co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living.
My name is Megan Kearns. I'm a contributor to Edge Media Network, and I too am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
My name is Dave Riedel. I write about movies for some places, and I'm also a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
Yeah, you are.
Yes, I am. I should have done my own, and I completely bagged it. Sorry.
No worries. And I realize I forgot to say my pronouns, so I'm just going to back into that and say that he, him, his.
Mine are she, her.
He, him. That was Dave.
So now that we've gotten that out of the way, we have some movies to talk about this week. We are going to be talking about the horror comedy Psycho Goreman, which is just as weird as it sounds. We've had the mystery thriller-ish The Woman in the Window, the Netflix film. Then we have the action film Those Who Wish Me Dead. It's currently on HBO Max. And we're going to wrap up with The Dry, which is an Australian crime drama, which I actually was fortunate enough to catch at IFF Boston, and it also comes out this week.
Yeah.
So
I caught it in my living room.
Yeah. I caught it in the IFF Boston, Independent Film Festival Boston, which we've covered on the show before. They did their virtual festival, and this was one of the couple of features I was lucky enough to catch, The Dry. So looking forward to talking about it with both of you now that you've seen it. But first, Psycho Goreman, which Dave, you and I saw.
We sure did. And there's a lot of it you can't unsee. So,
yeah.
I mean, Psycho Goreman is kind of strange. And I don't mean, because it's a horror comedy, and that's what it means to be. And some of it is very funny, and some of it is quite horrific. But there's still something about it that doesn't quite sit right with me.
Oh.
And what I always go back to when I think about horror comedies is like Peter Jackson's early stuff. In particular, is it Bad Taste? Is that the one where the aliens come and
Yes. Yeah. I can see what you're saying, the resemblance. So to give people a quick plot summary, I'm just going to read the IMDb, or one of the IMDb's. We've got siblings Mimi and Luke unwittingly resurrect an ancient alien overlord. Using a magical amulet, they force the monster to obey their childish whims and accidentally attract a rogues gallery of intergalactic assassins to their small town, suburbia.
Yeah. And that part, I mean, that's actually kind of fun. All the assassins chasing after Psycho Goreman because they're all afraid of him.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a weird movie. I think I agree with you, Dave. Something doesn't quite work for me. I think normally this is a movie that's a mashup of genres. You know, it's like some horror, some comedy, some sci-fi. And normally I like that kind of thing, but I don't think that this one mixes them effectively in a way that works. Like, there's some clumsy dialogue, there's some really bad acting, and some of that is like based on bad dialogue. And I know it's one of those movies that's supposed to be kind of bad, but it still just comes off bad.
Yeah. And also some of the things that happen to some of the people that Psycho Goreman kills or alters or whatever are surprisingly cruel for a movie that's supposed to, I mean, this is a movie where the blood and guts is supposed to be funny, but like when it turns that kid who Mimi has the crush on into like the giant brain, it's just kind of like, poor kid. You know,
it's really brutal. And like, there's a scene later in the movie where he sits down at dinner with his parents who are clearly ignoring him. And you're wondering, like, do they even know he's turned into a brain? Because they're just not even paying attention to him at all. He's just like a giant brain with eyeballs stuck in the center.
Yeah.
And there's some cruel stuff in there. Like when the cops show up and he turns that cop into like the weird zombie guy who keeps trying to shoot himself in the head to kill himself, but it doesn't work.
Right. But then there's like the kind of the funny one where that guy says, you know, at the beginning when Psycho Goreman first shows up, he kills those two guys in the warehouse and the third guy says, please don't kill me. And Psycho Goreman says, yeah, and then he makes him basically die forever. And then Mimi, one of the kids accidentally kills him, and then his corpse goes, "Thank you," like that.
Yeah.
And that was funny.
They knock him over. Yeah.
You know? Right. They accidentally knock him over.
There's some parts that do kind of work. Like some of the dialogue is funny in this, but most of it's just weird.
Yeah. And I think the thing that's kind of strange is like Mimi, the main character, and I think that the woman, the young woman, I should say, the kid who portrayed her is actually pretty good most of the time, but her character is like borderline a sociopath, which makes it a little bit harder to, if she were just a kid who like didn't really quite understand the power that she has, or even if she did, is still kind of surprised by how to wield it, that would be one thing. But she clearly revels in, the idea that Psycho Goreman could kill anybody she wants at any time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's that scene even later when she's like debating whether to give Psycho Goreman's like dying, and he's like, "I need the gem back." And she's like, "I could give it to him if he spares us." And the dad's like, "Don't you want to ask about the rest of the planet?" And she's like, "Meh."
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. And then she gives him the amulet, and he like spares them, and then goes and starts destroying their city. And it's just like, I mean, I know this is supposed to be funny, and I guess, I don't know what's happened to me that I would, because I watch like Dead Alive, another Peter Jackson movie, and it's like, now that's a movie, for example, that's so over the top. It's just impossible to take any of it seriously, which I think is kind of the point. Whereas this, it's just like, it's 80% there. And so the things that still seem kind of human make you feel kind of icky. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. And I think you're starting to zero in on one of my issues with the film. I don't know if it's the kids. I don't think either the kid, I don't know. Either their performances didn't work or their line delivery didn't work for me, but part of it is, yeah, you're right. Mimi as a character is like borderline sociopathic in the way that she like uses people, including her brother, and is like pretty much ready to like beat up her brother or have Psycho Goreman beat him up and kill him. But I don't know, just something about their performances didn't quite work for me. And it's hard when kids are at the center of the movie and you don't really like them.
Right. I didn't like the brother. I just thought he was like a non-entity, which I think is kind of the point. But at the same time, it's like we're spending a lot of screen time on someone that I just like has no personality and no anything. And I think that might be more about performance. I agree with you on that. I did, like I said, I did think Mimi was pretty effective, but and then there was also like the weird dynamic between the parents. Like at first, this is the thing. It feels like this movie is one of those movies where it's like it was written and then there were chunks that were rewritten without regard for what it was replacing or tone, because there's, at the beginning, it seems like the mom and dad are just kind of a normal mom and dad with a normal mom and dad relationship. But then it turns out the dad is a fucking like loser, lazy, like mooch off everybody's scumbag. But that doesn't even come up until like the 7th or 8th scene he's in. So it's like, wait a minute, why am I learning about this now? Where's this, power dynamic between the parents been this entire movie, So, yeah.
Right. And then becomes a central point later when the family basically splits up and we have, a parent and a kid on each side of this. Like the mom and the brother join the like Templars, which are like the weird cosmic night people who are there to kill Psycho Goreman, and then the dad and Mimi team up with Psycho Goreman, and it's like family member against family member. It's odd.
Yeah.
This movie reminded me a lot of like an R-rated version of like Power Rangers, because you have these like
somebody wrote that in a review I read.
You have these crazy guitar riffs, which are like totally straight out of Power Rangers. And then you have these like weird alien monsters and people wearing these like large costumes. They look anatomically bizarre, like some of the monsters. Like there's like one of the monsters, it looks like a washing machine that's stuffed with like blood and guts, and then when they like break it open, all the blood and guts start tumbling out. So it's just like, what the fuck am I watching?
Exactly. And also going back to like the just sort of casually cruel, the lead Templar who, when she decides to go to Earth to get Psycho Goreman and kill him, she's like, oh, I need an earthling or a human or whatever she says. And so they transport this woman who's like, hey, where am I? And then they just put her inside of a box and they squish her and she explodes. And I'm just like, that's not funny. You know, it's just gross and mean spirited. And I don't know. It just, but then her body is completely normal later because the Templar is inhabiting her, and like, all right, did she like get squished to death, or is she like, obviously you can like bend physics, but you know, I don't know. Just, this is what I mean with tonally all over the place. It was just kind of like, they were just like, oh, we'll just do what we want, whatever. Who gives a shit? You know, that's what it felt like.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird movie, and it's a mixed bag, and I think some parts work, but for me, most of it doesn't really come together. I have to say, I was amused by the end credit song. Basically, like they go with two songs. One's like a theme song for Psycho Goreman, which is like totally, riff on like 80s and 90s, like kids movies. And then they have like Psycho Goreman rap after that, which is basically just like a version of the Ninja Turtles rap.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I should mention that Psycho Goreman, the voice actor, I don't know, there's a body actor and a voice actor, and I thought the voice actor was really good, whoever it is. I don't have the credits in front of me. But yeah, but just too all over the place, too much like throwing it at the wall and seeing what sticks, sometimes literally. Yeah, just, I don't know. I felt like if this had been more like, what was the vampire movie we watched? Was it Jacob's Wife? Is that what it was called?
Jacob's Wife.
Yeah. If it had been kind of more like that, I think it would have been more successful, because that had humor and, well, that movie had pathos too, which fucking Psycho Goreman does not. So
no, it's definitely missing.
Yeah, but on purpose. It's not like they were like, oh, let's, that's not Psycho Goreman's point. I think I'm just not on board with Psycho Goreman's, ideology. So, or ideology, if you prefer.
Okay, so it sounds like we've talked ourselves out on that one.
Yeah.
I'm thinking now we should then move on to The Woman in the Window, which is a Netflix film.
Dave, you sound like you're straining
That's
yourself.
That's the sound of me. That's the sound of me saying, I can't believe the director, the cast, I mean, this is just one of those movies that is such a cosmic misfire on every level that it's,
and considering, I'm sorry.
No. It's just kind of astounding that so many talented people made such a piece of shit. It's amazing. I have not read the book on which this is based. I know there's some controversy about the author having made up parts of his own bio. And the other,
that's fun.
And then the other thing is this movie, I don't know if the book is like this at all, but it's also really derivative of a shitty 90s thriller. If you guys ever saw Copycat. And also it rips off Rear Window, which it acknowledges, because there's a scene she watches Rear Window on TV at one point, but like there aren't any original ideas in this movie.
No, and they don't even execute the pre-existing idea as well.
Yeah.
It's like not even a good like straight up rip off of something.
Yeah.
It's an inferior product altogether. I should probably start with a quick plot summary.
Sure.
So this stars, it's adapted from the novel by Tracy Letts. Yeah, directed by Joe Wright. And it's the plot is an agoraphobic woman is living alone in New York and begins spying on her neighbors, only to witness a disturbing act of violence. That's a really, really like stripped down version. Amy Adams is she herself is a child psychologist, and she has been trapped inside her apartment because of agoraphobia, and she gets wrapped up in these new neighbors that move in across the street
who never
Gary
close their
Oldman.
curtains even when they're killing people.
Yeah. Gary Oldman, his son, his character's name is Ethan. It's played by Fred Hetchinger. We've also got Julianne Moore, and then later on Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Wyatt Russell is the downstairs. I mean, this is a really good cast of people that are really squandered on a like shit execution of a story.
Yeah. Megan, you sound like you have things to say.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I do. Speaking, since we were talking about how it's ripping off Rear Window, and yeah, I mean, I think Joe Wright is clearly trying to pay homage to Hitchcock, because I mean, it's Rear Window. It very much looks like Vertigo. There's a scene where where Amy Adams is silhouetted against the TV that kind of is similar to Kim Novak being silhouetted against the green curtain. It's like Psycho with the knife at the end, and very slasher-esque, but it's also feels very much like Ingmar Bergman's Persona, and like kind of like the shallow focus when we see Amy Adams and then the TV really large behind her, kind of. And it also feels like The Girl on the Train too.
Oh
like,
my God,
because again, that's questioning, a woman's sanity, which is such a trope, such an I mean, obviously tropes are overused, but it's such a perpetual trope of questioning a woman's sanity. Like, oh no, you didn't really see that. You're unhinged, or you're ill. But the problem is, like you guys are saying, is that it's not doing anything innovative. Like, there are plenty of films that build on the backs of other films. There are plenty of films that pay homage to other films, but they're doing it in a very innovative way or a deft way, or they're combining those things in order to subvert them to say something new or say something different. And this is not saying anything. Nothing. And yeah, I mean, and you guys are right. This is a great cast. I'm not a fan of Gary Oldman.
Right.
Never really have been. So I don't think so I'm like, whatever, he's just there. But I mean, Jennifer Jason Leigh is amazing. Amy Adams is absolutely outstanding. And they're just Julianne Moore, and they're completely wasted here. Anthony Mackie is completely wasted.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it's so frustrating.
The two characters I like the most are Anthony Mackie and Brian Tyree Henry.
Brian Tyree Henry is good. Yeah.
And it's like, let's make a movie about those guys.
I know, right? I want to see them in a movie together. Yeah. But the other thing is too, that I just, this isn't even a good exploration of agoraphobia. I actually find this a really rather offensive depiction of it, and a really shallow depiction of it. And at first I'm like, okay, when she's talking with Julianne Moore, she's like, I have a disorder, it's agoraphobia. I can't leave my house. That's all fine. That's all fair. But as the film goes on, and especially by the end of the film, it's like, I found out what happened, solved the mystery case, solved the murder, and now I'm cured, and now I can leave my house. And I'm like, that's not how fucking agoraphobia works. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's just...
Yeah, I feel like if it had been a better movie, you could almost forgive that, but...
Yes, right. If that felt earned, like if you actually explored what agoraphobia actually looks like, because yes, of course it is that you can't leave your house, but it's more than that. It's different than just that, and that's an oversimplification. And of course she has trauma, and of course she's got a dead family, and it's like anyway, it's just
it sucks. It's really frustrating, because like by the time you get to the point where they point out like, oh hey, did you forget that you killed? Did you forget that your husband and daughter are dead? Did you just forget that? And you're just like, you know what I mean? You get to the reveal and you just sigh, because you're like, really? That's where they're going with this?
And also,
it's so cheap.
Yeah,
it's cheap.
Really cheap. And also, I am not. You, Megan, are not a fan of Gary Oldman. I am not a fan of Amy Adams. Never have been. Probably never will be. But I have always thought when she's good, she's good. What's the movie where the aliens are? Arrival. She's fantastic in that movie.
So good. So good.
That was one of those movies where I'm like, wow, that was an Amy Adams performance I can get behind. But like watching this, I kind of felt bad for her, because she's bad in the movie. Not the whole thing. It's kind of like the screenplay is so muddled and it's so derivative and it's so stupid. It's kind of like, what does a really good performer actually do? And I think there are times on screen when you can see her struggling how she's going to play this, because I think in the back of her mind, she knew it was dumb.
Yeah, she's definitely trying really hard. And also, Arrival is, I think, one of my favorite performances of hers. And also, she's outstanding in the miniseries Sharp Objects, where she plays a woman struggling with lots of trauma, struggling with depression, someone who does bodily self-harm. And she plays that perfectly. Plays that so well and so nuanced. But that's also really well written. And so here, I was, kind of excited to see what she would do. And no, I mean, as much as I think she's a really talented actor, it's just, no, she's just completely wasted here. And I think you're right, Dave. I think there are moments where she's trying to break through and trying to transcend the script, and it just does not work at all.
And also, I just want to, I've never said this before ever. Julianne Moore is downright unwatchable in this performance. I was watching it and I was like, I cannot believe how terrible she is. Again, I don't know that it's her fault, because I mean, it's just so dumb. And then Jennifer Jason Leigh is barely in it, but she's kind of crappy. And then Wyatt Russell, what is with his character? He's a super nice guy for 2 or 3 scenes. And then all of a sudden he's just this really giant angry cocksucker. Like, what? I don't, yes, people can be like that, but they can't be like that in the movies. Real people can be like that. In the movies, you're not just a nice guy, and then because your landlord was going through your mail, you turn into the worst person alive. It's so awful.
Right.
And if it's better acted or there's better writing, then maybe that would work. Like you could see some subtle issues early on that maybe he's not so nice. But no, it definitely doesn't work. Speaking about Julianne Moore, I just have to say it reminds me of how bad her horrendous Boston accent is. And that's how bad this performance by her is. It's like on that same level. So it's like, oh, what are you doing? You're so much better than this.
Yeah, this is. Oh, and then let's not forget the second big reveal is that the kid across the street is a budding serial killer. It's like, I didn't see this coming. And I'll tell you why, because it's ridiculous. It's so stupid. I mean, this is just like, I have no idea. I know a lot of people who've read this book, and they're like, what the book does really well is it feels suffocating. Her agoraphobia, like whoever wrote it, I don't know his real name. His pseudonym is AJ Finn. He really, in a dramatic way made you feel her suffering, whereas this movie sure does not. So
well, there was suffering, but I felt it watching it.
I'm so glad you brought that up, though, because like the house that she lives in is gorgeous. Like it's this really beautiful old brownstone, and I wish the film had really utilized the space more effectively. So we do feel her dread of going outside in the outside world, and we do feel this sense, this kind of claustrophobic sense. That would have been great. But I will say something else that was brutal about the film, that's like stabbing to her face from the kid. Oh my God,
that was unreal.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
that was
the garden tool to the face. Yeah.
Wow.
I did not see that coming.
No, I didn't either.
Like I saw he was holding it and I was like, oh, he's going to miss. Nope.
Right. Or like whack her with it somehow, like on the side of the head. But no, he just went full on stabby. Like, wow.
And also like just his performance in every, I've never seen him before that I know of. Fred Heckinger, who plays Ethan, just floundering, just so bad. Oh, I saw 8th Grade and he's in that. So, okay, I saw him in something. Oh, he's in News of the World. There you go. I saw two other movies he's in. But it's like, I just don't, this is what I mean. This is such a colossal misfire. It's astounding.
Yeah. It continues to surprise you all the ways that it's just bad, or that it does things that it just don't have any use. Like the whole idea of like the days, like studying this over a period of days that has no bearing on the plot. It doesn't matter. Is the weird character pivots. I mean, the thing to me, I keep struggling with is how unbelievable the car accident was that killed the family. It's like,
Oh yeah.
she drops her phone in the back seat while she's driving on a snowy, dark night, and she tries to reach back and get the phone off the. No one would do that. That's so idiotic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think some people might
Yeah.
do that.
Well, she clearly
weirdly.
never saw 7 Pounds starring Will Smith.
But to speak to your point, Evan, in addition, something that, and this is a minor thing, but I think when so many things are going wrong, every minor misstep and mistake is just kind of blown out of proportion. Something else is when she talks about the email that's sent to her and she says to the detectives, she's like, well, can't you trace it? And they're like, no, we can't trace an email. That's bullshit. And you actually can. You can't necessarily trace who sent the email, but you can trace the IP address at the minimum. And at no point is that brought up. And it's such a minor thing. But I'm just like, well, wait a minute. This is just one more thing that's dumb about this movie. So it's just, to speak to your point, the ridiculous, illogical things are just piling up here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was so predictable that she shoved the kid through the skylight, especially earlier when Wyatt Russell went up there and he's like, I don't know, it's not sturdy. You should have somebody go up there and check it out. And I'm like saying to myself, that's Chekhov's skylight. That's going to come into play later.
100%. Someone's going through it.
Yeah, yuck. This movie sucks.
Yikes. What a disappointment.
Yeah.
I think that's for me why it's so bad is, I mean, it's not the worst thing I've seen by any means, but at the same time, it's so disappointing considering all of the talent involved with this. It's just, it's like, wow, what a colossal waste of time.
I think it's time to strip Joe Wright of his directing privileges, because you can't live on Pride and Prejudice forever. Anna Karenina sucks. Atonement sucks. Pan sucks. The Darkest Hour is so horrible.
Hannah doesn't suck. It's a great film.
Oh, did he make Hannah?
He did.
Okay. All right. You've got 2 good movies out of how many? 9? I mean, Hannah is a good movie.
Yeah, it's not a good Hannah's great. It's not a good track record though. Yeah.
No, it's not.
Oh.
Well, any parting thoughts before we
let's move
on?
The fuck on.
I was going to say, I will to this film's credit, because I know Joe Wright, is very concerned with like the composition of shots and things like that, and things looking very striking. I will say some of the scenes are very visually appealing, so I will give the film that, but that's it.
Like the rocking chair thing, where she's on the rocking chair and staring at the crack and seeing the time that Julianne Moore came over, like replaying. I thought that was actually like the one visually interesting thing that happened.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no, I wasn't talking about that, but yeah.
See, that struck me as something like straight out of Hitchcock. Like he didn't do that specifically, but that is something he would have done.
Yeah. No, but I think that's the thing, is that anything that is visually striking, another filmmaker has done.
Yeah. Any spray.
Well, so then let's move on to the Angelina Jolie action vehicle, Those Who Wish Me Dead, which is available now on HBO Max. It's an action movie, so thrillery, a little drama-y.
It's an action movie without a lot of action, even though there is a lot of action.
I was like, I wouldn't actually categorize this as an action movie.
Yeah,
it's where to start with this
it's
one. So
mixed,
Angelina Jolie,
it's a mixed bag.
You want to summarize it, since you?
I was like, no, I'm going to jump in and say I thought this was great. I had a blast with this. So
I think it's okay.
Glad someone did.
Yeah, listen, I'm here for any Angelina Jolie project, any of them. I will watch them and love them because she is magnetic and I love her and she was great in this. So yeah, I mean, if you want, I can do the summary or you can do it. It doesn't matter to me.
No, why don't you go for it?
Okay. So Angelina Jolie is a firefighter smoke jumper, meaning she jumps out of airplanes. She parachutes to take care of fires in really remote regions of forest. And she has endured a traumatic experience. And so she's kind of taken a step back in her job and she oversees a fire watch tower. And meanwhile, there's a kid and his father is targeted by 2 killers played by Aidan Gillen and Nicholas Hoult, who they're just brutally killing one of his colleagues, the DA, and now they're coming after him. So he goes on the run to go from Florida to Montana. Is that where we are?
I think so.
And and that's where John Barenthal and his wife, played by Medina Senghor, are, and because that is his brother-in-law. And so he's trying to get to a safe space there. And John Barenthal is friends with Angelina Jolie, their exes. And that is where we are at. And there's a car accident. So the kid has to leave his father because his father unfortunately dies. And then he's on the run, and Angelina Jolie finds him, and then she helps him. And then, there's kind of these intersecting storylines.
And then Nicholas Hoult and Aidan Gillen start a forest fire.
Yes, they do.
That part.
Well, and the car accident is Aidan Gillen and Nicholas Hoult gunning the father down while he's driving and forcing him off the road.
Right.
Yes.
Down off a cliff and with the
that
kid
is
in the
very
car.
true.
So I did appreciate the absolute ruthlessness of the two professional killers. I think that you don't get enough of that in movies where they're just like, this is our job and we are very good at being terrible people. That being said,
and I love seeing Aidan Gillen
I
in that role.
love seeing Aidan Gillen in that role. You know who I don't like seeing in that role? Nicholas Hoult. Let's revoke his acting privileges.
Yeah, can we?
Because this guy,
stop putting him in
he's like the Orlando Bloom of this time period. It's like every time he shows up, you're like, oh, it's you. Here, watch you be an empty fucking blank space for the next 2 hours. You know? I'm glad that tickled you.
It did.
Yeah.
He's so awful in everything. Like even Mad Max Fury Road, he's tolerable. But if there were a better performer in that movie would go from being an A+ to an A++. So
yeah, I will say I think he's better here than he often is, but that's not saying much. That's not a high bar by any means. He's certainly, I think, the weakest of any of the actors in this film.
Yeah. And John Bernthal dies again in a Taylor Sheridan movie. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know. He really does love to have him in his movies and then kill him.
Yeah.
But John Barenthal is so good. He's so good. And he's great in this role too. And I just, And I love his pregnant wife, Medina Senghor, who is a freaking badass with her rifle.
Yeah.
She might be the most interesting character to me.
I can see that. Yeah, I can totally get down with that.
Oh, I love it when she's holding the I don't know if it's hairspray or oven cleaner or whatever near the fire.
Oh, it's so good. And he's like, "You're holding it the wrong way." No, I'm not.
Yeah,
it's so great.
Burns off Aidan.
Lights him up.
Yeah, and I like how from that moment on, his face is just fried away, and he's just kind of like, "I'm dying. We have to get this done quick."
Right? I know. He's the consummate professional.
Evan, though, it sounds like you had some major problems with this, so let's hear it.
I hated this movie.
No. Oh, yikes.
I just feel like the whole time, and this was actually because we were watching this because Shauna's mom was visiting, she pointed out early on, she's like, I feel like this movie's trying too hard. And she perfectly articulated my issue with from the beginning. I feel like this movie was trying so hard to make me think it was cool with Angelina Jolie palling around with her firefighter friends, or sex, shit, they're booze, let's just throw in all the cliche things to make people, oh man, they're such badasses. They open their parachute and when they're driving in a pickup truck, and I don't know, I just feel like it was trying so hard. And then I feel like the ruthlessness of the villains was entertaining, but all the dialogue felt like it was trying too hard. They were just saying things that you feel like henchmen would say. If you did a Mad Libs of henchman dialogue, that's basically you get most of what those characters say throughout the film.
Yeah, I can buy that.
Wow.
And it's a movie, it's got this potentially interesting conspiracy plot that it doesn't do anything with. And we've got Tyler Perry, who is the big bad, and we never find out anything about him. And I was like, okay, cool. Tyler Perry is a villain. Let's see where this goes. Nope. We see him in one scene, then he's gone, and nothing
I
else is
love
done.
that.
Yeah.
I actually love that. I love that the film is self-contained and is like, nope, we're not going to find out anymore. And no, nobody else does know really anymore because the two people who knew, they're dead. So I hear what you're saying, but I'm totally okay with it. And I actually I disagree with everything. I'm so sorry, but I do. I loved Angelina Jolie's she has a very natural ease about her in almost every role, if not every role. And I feel that she's got a real comfort and ease here too. And I didn't mind the conversations about, like, I don't sleep with people who I see shit in the woods, like, because that to me felt kind of authentic. It didn't feel like, oh, they're trying too hard. I was just like, no, these people are kind of probably adrenaline seekers and they're risk takers and they're doing, some of the most dangerous jobs out there. And so for me, it kind of felt like it gelled with who they are and what they did for a job. And I also really liked the rapport between Angelina Jolie and the kid Connor. I did. I really, really liked that as well.
I thought they were good. I thought their scenes were good. I thought the kid was really good.
Yeah, he was really good.
The thing that this happened in the beginning and I never recovered from it, and I knew I would never recover from it, is when we started hearing, when we just did all the rah-rah firefighter country music stuff, I was just like, Taylor Sheridan's smarter than this. Why are we doing this? It just seemed like, is this the same person who directed Wind River and who wrote Hell or High Water? I'm not sure.
I mean, he did just do Without Remorse, which also I think was an abominable movie. I'm like, what is going on with this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought of it as, and I know what you guys are saying, but I thought of it as just kind of, he loves neo-Westerns. And so to me, it was just kind of paying tribute to fitting this into the neo-Western with the, country rah-rah music.
Yeah, I just think that if it had gelled better, I think this movie actually has a little too much going on for it to be like, I appreciate that it was self-contained, but at the same time, there's so much that they tell you about the conspiracy plot.
That's true.
It's just like, why not just go ahead and explain the whole fucking thing? Right. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
It would probably only take another 10 minutes.
Yeah, or just strip it down and make it more simplified and like, okay, she's a firefighter. We've got a wildfire going on. Let's do something more with that to like.
Yeah. And the strange thing is I, like you, Megan, I like Angelina Jolie a lot. And I think she's really good most of the time. And I think she's really good in this. But she actually strangely did not feel like the main character to me in this.
I can see that.
I mean, but the strange thing is I wouldn't call this an ensemble piece either. So it almost feels like Aidan Gillen is the main character at some points. And then it seems like John Bernthal is like second lead, but there's no first lead. It's kind of all over the place in its character, not their attributes or anything, but like how they're manipulated almost. Yeah, I found it uneven in that respect. So there were a lot of things I did like. I'm also, having been near forest fires before, you don't really get that close to them if you can avoid it. Like, she tells the kid, like, run as hard as you can and then make a left and go to the river. Well, that could work if the fire doesn't make a left also.
Yeah, fires are wildly unpredictable. You don't know where it's going to go exactly.
Yeah.
So,
That's another issue I had with this movie is the fire. I don't think the fire looks good. It doesn't look realistic to me in most of the scenes that it's in, especially that first one where the house explodes. Like, that just did not look good.
That did look really cheap, yeah. That did look like a cheap special effect.
There was something that made me think about this, that I think that the film there were little touches, and they're very simple, they're very little, very minor, but they're different than other films I've seen in kind of crime films, in that it feels subtly smarter. And this is a very minor thing, but when Nicholas Hoult is walking up the stairs in Florida trying to kill the kid Connor and his father, he's wearing slippers, and so he can muffle that. And then Aidan Gillen has gloves on so as not to leave any fingerprints. And they're just minor things, but I was like, oh, this is slightly smarter and subtly so than other films, and I just appreciated that. So yeah, so
And I appreciate that too, which is why some of the other stuff is such a bummer. You know? So
yeah, I'm just sad. I guess I'm sad that you guys didn't enjoy it quite as much as I did. I had so much fun with this.
yeah, it was really strange. Like I really wanted to like it more than I did. And I don't dislike it. I mean, but at the same time it's just like so close. So anyway.
But yeah, I just love Angelina Jolie so much. She's so good. She just sinks into a role, but still somehow is still always her magnetic self. Anyway, I could go on and on.
Okay, well, I mean, so 3 very different viewpoints on I was going to say Hell or High Water on Those Who Wish Me Dead. I will say, by the way, great title.
Yes.
I don't know. I think it's based on a novel, but like Those Who Wish Me Dead, that is a good title.
It's Michael Cortez, who also he co-wrote the script. It's based on his book by the same name. Yeah, really good title. I agree.
I did notice that the screenplay had kind of been through the ringer because there are 3 writers but no ampersands. So
that's true. Always look for the ampersands.
Yeah.
So should we wrap up with The Dry?
The Dry? Yeah.
Dry.
Sure. We can try to talk about The Dry. I'm not going to, I did mention to both of you that even though this movie is Australian and takes place in Australia, that no one drinks Foster's, and that's bullshit. But whatever, fine. I'm going with my long-running, it's not funny that all Australians hate Foster's, but I always bring it up anyway.
You do. It's your trademark.
It is. Dave Riedel Foster's TM. Anyway, who's gonna do the breakdown? Evan?
I mean, I was going to read the IMDb.
Yes, please. Well, I'm interested to know what the one sentence IMDb.
Yeah, so Aaron Falk returns to his drought-stricken hometown to attend a tragic funeral, but his return opens a decades-old wound, the unsolved death of a teenage girl, which is funny that they mention a tragic funeral. It's his childhood best friend is supposed to have murdered his entire family and killed himself.
Yeah, that is a strange thing to not mention.
He didn't kill the baby. There's a baby.
No, he spared the baby,
the wife, the son, and himself. And then there's this unsolved murder of a girl that they grew up with. And we know that Aaron and his best friend Luke lied. There was some circumstance around her death that they lied about. So those are kind of like the competing mysteries in this film.
Yeah.
Did I leave out anything important before we dive into what we thought about it?
You did leave out the weird plot twist, but we can get to that.
Oh yeah, I figured we get to that later.
Weird, but I mean, it sort of makes sense, although I'm not sure it works. But still, I'm just happy to see Eric Bana in a leading role, which I have not seen him in quite a while, and I've always liked him.
He's really great in this.
He's terrific in this movie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this makes me want to see him in much more.
Yeah. Yep. So I think so. Okay. So there's a character in the movie called Grant, right? And so Eric Bana, Aaron, his best friend supposedly murders his wife, his older child, and then kills himself. And then there's the funeral. And then Grant is the dead girl from 20 years ago's brother. And then his father is involved too. And then there's a piece of paper that Aaron finds that has that his dead friend's wife had written on it that says Grant ? And I knew because they were talking earlier at the school about how the school needed money and she worked for the school.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that meant a grant, like an education grant, a money grant.
Yeah.
Except
Not the
it turns
name.
into but it turns into this subplot. And I was just like, this movie is so good on so many levels that this seems like a really kind of ridiculous thing that this red herring it would focus on,
Yeah. There's a couple of red herrings that they throw in there. I really like Eric Bana in this. I think he's great. And I like the idea of like the kind of competing mysteries. We've got like the flashbacks to the childhood days. We've got, this one of those situations where, he's a cop from out of town. He's coming back to his hometown Luke's family asks him to look into this. And of course, typically in this type of situation, I'll only stay for a day. And then he gets hooked trying to unravel this mystery. And I like the fact that he's back in his hometown and like people hate him there. And they know that he lied about, the girl who died, the circumstances around it. So like everyone just thinks he killed her still. And I think that creates a really like tense dynamic to throw in there. And then, toss in the fact that the town's been going through this drought and there's all these areas of like, it just dried up wilderness. I think that adds an element of tension to it as well. I just wish it came together better for me. Like the two storylines, I feel like I was not just unsatisfied with like the resolution. I feel like the movie didn't do a good job for me of selling me why that was like the resolution. So we like, after all of these different threads that he's investigating of like who could have actually done this, as opposed to like he knows that Luke didn't do this, so someone else killed the family. And like there's some good red herrings, like there's these blue shotgun shells, and there's a friend of his who he reconnects with. We find her later shooting these blue shotgun shells, and you're like, oh shit, did she do it? She had a relationship with Luke, they were dating when they were younger, and it seemed like maybe Luke could be the father of her kid, but no. Nope. They go to like the school principal, who we find out later has a gambling debt and he was in over his head. And so like Luke's wife worked at the school and she got money, and he took the grant money to pay off his gambling debt. And that's why he had to murder the family. And even though they literally show you it, they show it happening. Like you watch the whole thing of the principal going and doing the murdering, including killing the kid, which I feel like was totally over the top and
that was unnecessary.
At least the kid was like in a closet.
Yeah, it was off screen at least, but still.
I just didn't buy it. Like narratively, they didn't do a good job of convincing me that's why it was supposed to have happened.
Yes, you had told me that before, and the one thing that I thought of though was the reason they had moved to that town, so he said, was because they were victims of a home invasion. And what I think you're supposed to realize later is like it wasn't a home invasion; it was people shaking him down, and they tried to escape, and he, still owed this debt. That's what I took away from it. So, but still, that being said, I agree with you, Evan, in the sense that I don't really think that guy would go to that extreme. Yeah. It just didn't. He was just too mild-mannered.
Yeah. No, I also really like the premise and in the sense of I like the dual narratives of dual murders, like one in the past, one in the present. Very True Detective style. I like that. And I also like, Evan, how you pointed out about how the town hates him, and they openly hate him.
Yeah.
Like they are not mincing words. It is just open vitriol, so much so that somebody posts posters around saying killer. And, and also I have to say,
dead calf.
Well, yeah, I was going to say this movie also has dead dogs, and really gorily so, which is awful. And I thought those were dogs. Are you saying one was a calf? Maybe it was
a calf. Yeah, it was a dead calf.
Okay. I was trying not to look too closely. I was like, it looks the size of a dog. Anyway, it's a dead animal, and it's gory, and it's awful, and it's brutal. But I do like how openly they hated him. But yeah, this is such a slow film, and it's so bleak with such a bleak ending, which I kind of dug. But I do agree that the explanation of it being the principal, and then he's spilling gasoline around himself and lights himself on fire, and then Eric Bana's putting it out with his bare hands. It doesn't quite come together in a satisfying way. And not that it needs to necessarily be satisfying. We don't need, endings can be ambiguous. They can leave us feeling empty. That's kind of the point in how bleak it is. But at the same time, it kind of even though they're leaving all these clues and even though they have all these red herrings, and even though they have an explanation and a good explanation, arguably, it doesn't necessarily feel like it's a good explanation. So I agree, it doesn't quite come together. But I will say, I kind of like how he is so utterly convinced that those two murders are linked and they are not linked.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do like that and appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also like how he just accidentally finds out how the other murder must have happened just through sheer dumb luck.
Yep.
Going back to the place that he and the young woman used to go when they were kids. He finds her like abandoned covered in 20 years of dirt backpack.
Yep.
And it turns out it was her father. So, which is kind of weird though, that the father like shows up, and wouldn't you just be quiet, and not accuse Eric Bana of killing her? Just like, maybe just, keep it, just stay on the sidelines there,
Yeah. I mean, well, right. And Eric Bana even suspects him because he's like, how do you know I wasn't there? Like,
yeah,
you seem to know an awful lot.
He does say that. He's like, how do you know I wasn't there?
Right.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I do kind of like that we find out later that the lie really was just to not look, so we wouldn't, it wouldn't look incriminating for him. It was not that he even really did anything incriminating,
right?
Or that he had any type of role in his friend's death. It's just he wrote her a note saying, "Meet me at the creek," and then she was found dead in the creek. It was like he didn't see her, so it was easier for him and his friend to lie that they were together. And then that way, no one would get in trouble for something they didn't do.
Right.
Yep.
But there was something disappointing to me about the resolution of that being that her dad just killed her because he was abusing her. I was like, I feel like that was a little bit like low hanging fruit. But
why is that?
I don't know. I just feel like that's such a common like trope in movies, like the abusive father.
Trope is a word we have come back to a lot in this episode of Spoiler Piece Theater.
I don't know. I just feel like I keep seeing that a lot, and it's not to say it doesn't happen. It just, I don't know. I felt like if we were going to have these competing mysteries, and I felt like one didn't wrap up in a satisfying way or in an interesting way, I was hoping maybe something about the second one would be more. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what I did appreciate though is how even though Eric Bana figures out what happened in the second murder, the murder of his friend, there's nothing he can do about it, because there's really, even though she's written in her diary, my father, does all these horrible things to me, there's no proof of that because she's been dead for 20 years, and the only piece of, so he knows what happened, but there's nothing he can do about it. And I sort of appreciated that, like the kind of final shot of the movie is him just sort of walking into the distance,
Yeah, I actually really did too. Like I said, it was bleak, and it's just really, really bleak, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. I think that despite all this movie's problems, I think it's kind of, it shows you though what a really great performer can do with material that's maybe not quite as good as it should be. I feel like Eric Bana really makes this all hang together really well. I think the supporting actors are good too.
Yeah,
but I think without that strong central performance that he has, and also I really like the way that this movie uses not speaking, not necessarily silence, but the way people don't speak to each other in this. I like that in all movies. That's why I like Michael Mann movies, because the characters don't talk much. So I mean, or when you find characters that's there's one guy that he questions who's like, I think he lives with his mom, and he's a guy of very few words, and I found those conversations quite funny because he was just trying to like talk as little as possible.
Yeah, actually, his childhood friend, she says that too, and she's like, "You've always been you always haven't talked, or you've always been quiet."
Right? She does say that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of amazing though. Speaking of a good scene, when he basically accuses her of murdering their friend, and I was just like, "Oh, this is not going to end well." Not because she's going to try to kill him, but because it's just like, man, you are so way off.
Yeah. But in
Very
fairness,
much
at the
so.
time, I feel like based on the evidence, it wasn't that illogical of a lead.
No,
Sure.
no, it was pointing her way.
Yeah.
I have to say, I also, even though it's one small scene, I have to say I appreciate that there's an exploration of being closeted and queerness, and he thinks it's one of the guys, and then finds out he lied about where he was because he's having, sort of a relationship, some kind of relationship with the doctor in town, and I don't know. I just really appreciated that. And when then Eric Bana is kind of like, he's like, why didn't you tell me? He's like, you're interfering with an investigation. You're tampering with evidence essentially. And he's like, you think you're going to get the truth in a town like this? And I think that's another thing I really appreciate. Like, in addition to just that, I appreciate that everybody has secrets in this town. And like that is kind of a cliche. It's very often for small towns to have tons of secrets, but I think this film navigates that really well.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I did like that element of the film.
Yep. So, I mean, it's kind of strange. I mean, this is one of those movies. It's like, it's better than the sum of its parts,
Yeah.
Like, it has all kinds of like sort of dramatic problems, but at the same time, it sort of transcends them in a way. I don't know.
It still somehow comes together, even when it doesn't quite come together.
Right.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Yeah. Also, I know that's what they call it in Australia because I looked it up, but The Dry. I mean,
yeah.
What a title for a movie. There's going to be people like, what's The Dry? What the fuck is this movie? And
yeah.
Like, we're going to go see Cruella instead, which comes out next weekend.
I remember hearing the title and thinking this was a movie about a guy who like quit drinking and was like trying to stay sober.
I thought. That is exactly what I thought when I heard the title.
I'm glad it wasn't. And here's the thing, like I'm crapping on like some parts of the story, but it did hold my attention. I was continually wondering where it was going. I just wish it went somewhere more satisfying.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. That's completely fair. I get that.
Yeah. Overall, a good experience for me, but I definitely hear what you're saying.
Yeah. But I also really like when a mystery kind of has all the components there and maybe you don't see it all coming together until the end. But then if you were to go back, you could see it. I kind of like that. But yeah, but Evan, you're totally not wrong. You're totally right.
Thanks. Okay. So do we have anything else we wanted to mention about The Dry?
I mean, I don't. I would say see it though,
Yeah, I think I would recommend it. I mean Eric Bana's performance, and like you guys are saying, it does hang together. He does take some weaker aspects of the movie and make it more compelling.
Plus, Eric Bana is one of those people that like I'm not sure why he's so good looking, but he's so good looking. I mean, that's just like he's really easy to watch because you're just like, I don't know, there's something. You don't look like a conventional leading man, but god damn it if you aren't pretty. So anyway, I just thought that I would throw that in there. There's some eye candy too.
Okay.
For the more base of us in the group. So.
If we're throwing out recommendations, I also would say see this.
Awesome. And let's see, where can people find this? This I think is playing in theaters.
This is playing in theaters, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's on demand as well, but it's playing in theaters. So we know where we stand on The Dry. We have Those Who Wish Me Dead, which is on HBO Max. I think, is it also in theaters? I'm not sure about that.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
So you could see it both places. I think you both know where I come down. It sounds like
Indeed.
Megan, you would definitely say see it, and Dave.
Oh my God, yes. I had a blast with this, so yes.
Yeah. I mean,
Dave, you're a yes as well.
For Those Who Wish Me Dead, I mean, if it's a rainy day, if it's a rainy Saturday and there's a matinee, sure.
Or you could just stay at home and watch it if you have HBO Max.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like no need to wait for the rain. Although maybe you would. You want to wait for the rain to stay inside and watch it anyway.
Yeah. I think we can all agree to say skip The Woman in the Window.
Yeah.
Oh my, yeah. Unfortunately, but yes.
That's available on Netflix to watch. And then Dave, how do you feel about Psycho Goreman, which is going to be available on Shudder for people to see?
I'm intrigued.
If this is the kind of thing that's up your alley, then I say go for it. But I think it just is so tonally inconsistent that it really, it just didn't work for me. I think I was really looking forward to it too, but I would say it's a pass.
I hate to say it, but I think I'm in the same boat. This is the exact kind of movie I should like. I love mashups. I love horror comedy. I like this kind of movie. I like movies that are paying homage to like 80s and 90s movies, and it didn't work for me, and I wish it did. But I think for me was just too much of a mixed bag to recommend.
Yeah.
Well, alrighty. That brings us to the end of another episode of Spoiler Piece Theater. I want to say first a huge thank you to our editor, Otto Clamor. Otto, thank you for making us sound great every week.
Thanks, Otto.
You can find us anywhere you get podcasts, but you can also find us at our website. We are spoilerpiece.com. We're all over social media. We're Spoiler Piece Theater on Facebook. We're at Spoiler Piece, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, TikTok. We are we're in all those places. So hit us up, say hi. You can also email us, spoilerpiece@gmail.com, to tell us we're right about something, wrong about something. Just say hello. We always love to hear from listeners. Or you can give us a call
at 862-21-PEACE.
Leave us a voicemail. Love to hear from you as well. Tell us, I agree with Megan that Those Who Wish Me Dead is a kick-ass movie, and you're wrong, Evan. Or no, Psycho Goreman is great. Or you guys really missed the boat on the woman in the window.
I don't know if that one's going to happen.
No, I don't think so.
I was like, I don't know if that one's going to happen, but it could.
It could.
You never know. There's an audience for everything.
There is. And so if you like the show, please rate and review us. Help more people find the show. You can go to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece. And that will take you to where you want to go to leave us a review. And if you really, really like the show, please join our Patreon. This week's exclusive audio, we talked about the 2000 film Bring It On, which Megan had never seen before.
Nope. And boy, am I glad I did see it finally.
Yeah, we had a fun conversation about that. So you get, when you sign up for our Patreon, the $5 tier and up, you get exclusive audio each week. We talk about movies. You can vote in polls. We have a poll coming up that you could vote in if you join our Patreon. So definitely check that out. And we want to say thank you to our patrons.
Yes, we want to give a huge thank you to Bill Scahan, Bob Chipman, Charles Nash, Chris Wilkinson, Davida Margolin, Deirdre Crimmins, Christopher Jensen, Max Coville, Mike, Lord of the Sith, Rory Glynn, Sean Pensionar, Shauna Harris, Shelley M. McCaskill, Shona Glasgow, and Zach Pigeon. Thank you so much, patrons. You rock.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to this week's episode. My name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living. You can follow me on Twitter and on Letterboxd as Real Recon, and that's real as in film reel.
My name is Megan Kearns. I'm a contributor to Edge Media Network. I, too, am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association. You can follow me on Twitter at OpinionSWorld and on Instagram and Letterboxd at The OpinionS.
And my name is Dave Riedel. I write about movies for some places. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm on the tweets to Instagram and Letterboxd as Dave Sees Movies.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.